Well, Home Affairs Minister Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi says marriage laws need to align with the Constitution. This comes after he engaged in discussions with religious leaders today to unpack some of the contentious aspects of the Marriage Act. I'm joined by Jennifer Stoller of Schindler's Attorneys. She specializes in family law. Jennifer, good evening, and thanks for your time.
It's a pleasure.
Okay, there's so much to talk about, so let's firstly do a broad one. What are the worrying bits about the Marriage Act at the moment and how it aligns or doesn't align with the Constitution?
Well, it's not even about that the Marriage Act doesn't align with the Constitution. It's the fact that we don't have other acts that do align with the Constitution, if that makes sense. So we have the Marriage Act, we have the recognition of the Customary Marriage Act, and then we have the Civil Unions Act. But we don't have any act that allows for Jewish marriages to be valid in South African law without registering them. We don't have any acts that allow for Muslim marriages to be recognized in law without registering them. So essentially, if you are entered into a religious marriage and you think that you are protected, you're not, unless you actually register your marriage as a civil marriage. So I think that's where it's come from. We've started to realize that we're a diverse nation, we're a rainbow nation, so many different people, so many different religions and cultures, and we've kind of had to step back and say, well, we need to take steps in order to grow, in order to allow humans to feel like they're protected by the law and not burdened by it.
Yeah. Okay, so if just looking at it now, it seems like we're not going to force people to do things in a certain way or the same way. What we're talking about is recognizing how different cultures and religions do things and saying, okay, but if it comes, for example, to divorce, like you speak about a Jewish marriage or a Muslim marriage, those rules will apply even if you haven't had the same ceremony, I'm assuming.
So what I think, what they've kind of come out, and to be honest, I completely welcome this, because it's gotten to a point where there is no equality. It is unfair discrimination where a customary marriage is recognized even if it isn't registered in terms of the civil law, but a Muslim marriage won't be recognized by that virtue. So we've gotten to a point now where they're opening their arms and they're saying, religious leaders, come and help us. Individuals, come and help us. So I do believe that any act that is created does not and should not take away any of the religious aspects that are special to people. So in customary marriages, things like lobola are important, and that's what's actually enacted. So they should take the recognition of the Customary Marriages Act and actually other acts all over the world and look at international law and try and make an act that serves everyone but doesn't burden them.
Well, very interesting, and I've picked up just some particular concerns. One of them was underage marriage. Which they hope that this is going to deal or prevent that.
So for me, in my practice, I've never dealt with underage marriage, because in terms of the Marriage Act as well as the Customary Marriages Act and the Civil Unions Act, is that in order for that marriage to be recognized and valid, you have to be over the age of 18. So when they were speaking that there's nothing that speaks in law of it, I was a bit confused, because maybe they were talking about in smaller religious circles, there's child marriage. And I know that there is child marriage in small religious circles. So at the end of the day, it's also up to the Children's Act to protect children, because at the end of the day, we have to look at what is the best interest of a child, and it's not getting married before they are the age of 18, unless they obviously emancipate themselves, which is a completely different story.
That's a whole other legal process.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, another one which I found quite fascinating is another situation they say to be addressed is when a partner to an opposite-sex marriage subsequently has gender realignment surgery, and it's
so that was
kind of
so
keeping up with the times.
Yeah, that was so interesting for me. So I kind of also have taken my law hat off a little bit and said, well, as human beings, we're adapting to the times. It's also one of those things when you look in law, it's always husband and wife, husband and wife. It's no longer husband and wife. It's husband and husband, wife and wife. And for me, that is going to be very, very interesting. And I'd love to see how they would regulate that, because what if they want to stay together? Do they have to get divorced? Do they have to get remarried? How do they get remarried? So I'm very interested.
Because it'll come with name changes and things like that.
100%, yeah.
Okay, so it's very interesting. And very quickly for us, Jennifer, I mean, this sounds like it's a mammoth task if you have to consider all the different cultures and religions we have, and it's going to be huge. Obviously, this is not going to be done overnight.
So they say by 2021. I do believe that they shouldn't put a timeline on it, because it hasn't been there for... So we've actually had a Muslim marriages bill that has been lingering for years and years and years. So there is something that is there. But I think it's up to Home Affairs to kind of sit down with religious leaders as well as attorneys and get everyone's input, where it serves everyone at the same time, because you also don't want to take the religious aspects out of it, because so some people want to get married in terms of Judaism, but not civilly. So we kind of have to adapt and ask humans what they want. So ask the public.
If you're living as husband and wife, this is what.
100%,
this is what the rules are. Okay, thank you very much there. That's Jennifer Emmy Stoller from Schindler's Attorneys, just chatting to us about the plans there to sort of look at a general marriage law that will apply to everyone and that will make everyone happy. Still to